Welcome back to the channel. This will be my team selection for Matchday 1 in UCL Fantasy. It will be a pleasure to have you on board this season for the Champions League, and stay tuned for tomorrow's deadline stream where I'll be going live and trying to close in on 36,000 subscribers. It's all thanks to your support. We recently hit 35k and we're still looking to push towards new objectives in the future. I'm also making FPL content this week with the transfer tips, best wildcard team, and the team selection, and the transfer tips may have been published already by the time you see this, and there's going to be even more UCL Fantasy videos throughout the season with limitless and wildcard squads for every single match day, team selections, deadline streams, you name it. There's even a chip strategy guide, so you're well prepared on how to approach this season, and you can see the optimal time to use the wildcard and limitless boosters. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so always up to date with my content for both UCL Fantasy and FPL, and stay tuned throughout the season because you'll be in a great position to win your mini leagues. And speaking of which, you can join my one in UCL Fantasy. The code is SEINOF. There is an auto join link in the description, and you can copy the league code there as well. Join my Discord server, check out my Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and also Blue Sky, and you'll stay up to date with UCL Fantasy and FPL, and you'll have even more information at your disposal. Check out my Spotify too, leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to supporting my channel. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. There are some key injury updates to some of the best players in the Champions League, and they'll be covered in today's video as well as tomorrow's deadline stream. But between the sticks, I'm looking to sell Di Gregorio to Trubin and really target Matchday 1. If you check out my chip strategy guide and also my latest draft video, you'll see the reasons why. My current plan is to wildcard between Matchdays 2 to 4, with Matchday 2 being even more likely at this moment in time, and that will allow me to really go in for Matchday 1 with these ultimate punts and essentially free hit in the opening match day. That's a chip from Fantasy Premier League, for example, where you build a team specifically for one game week, then your team goes back to how it was. But in this case, of course, with unlimited transfers, you will keep this team for the league phase. So my plan is to wildcard quite early, and even the limitless in Matchday 2 shouldn't be discounted. It's all covered in my chip strategy guide. But Benfica are ranked second in the clean sheet odds, only behind Sporting, and I'll be showing you the update figures later in this video. But they both cost 4.5 million. Benfica drew 1-1 this weekend. The same goes for Karabag, their upcoming opponents in the Champions League, while Juventus beat Inter Milan 4-3 in a classic. But before that game, Juventus were keeping clean sheets and they are solid defensively, but it is Borussia Dortmund in Matchday 1, and the German outfit won 2-0 this weekend as well. My highlight defender transfer is something you're probably used to by now, switching between Dumfries and Hakimi, but I'm really targeting the Moroccan and his Matchday 1 potential, and I think Inter Milan could concede a goal or two against Ajax, who got a 3-1 victory this weekend, and Inter Milan have been shaky defensively since the departure of Inzaghi, and of course they lost the Champions League final 5-0, but before that, they were looking like such a unit defensively and so tough to break down, but they still need levels to go to in order to reach that sort of solid defensive line and be really difficult for opponents. And once they find that balance, I think Inter Milan will be one of the favourites to go far in this competition. And whilst Denzel Dumfries is still a great pick for the first 4 match days, there's a clear fixture swing in Matchday 5, and I don't think Ajax away will be easy like it might have been last season. My midfielder transfer that I'm looking to do is Kvaratskhelia to Elise, because the Georgian winger was subbed off due to an injury in PSG's 2-0 victory yesterday. So that was on the Sunday, the 14th of September. So after 30 minutes, he was subbed off for Mbaye, and that could be a major concern going into the Atalanta game. So Kvaratskhelia is out of my team. Let's see what Luis Enrique says over the next day or so, and if he's available for the Champions League. But Michael Elise is a great replacement at the same price tag. He got an assist in a 5-0 victory for Bayern Munich this weekend, and they look so solid overall. And Elise is getting goal contributions in virtually every single match so far this season, and he is facing Chelsea at home in Matchday 1, so you could argue there are better Matchday 1 punts, but Elise is fixture proof, and I think he's one of the best options in UCL Fantasy. The same goes for Vinicius Jr., who would replace Lamine Yamal, who had an injury with Spain, and Hansi Flick was complaining about this in his press conference. So he missed the Valencia game on Sunday, where Barcelona thrashed Valencia 6-0. Lewandowski and Rafinha got braces off the bench, and Yamal is still going to be a big miss against Newcastle away, should he miss that game, of course. So I'll keep you updated on that, and hopefully we get some clarification on it before the deadline. But the reports from a few days ago is that Yamal will unlikely feature against Newcastle, therefore he will miss the opening match day, and that would be obviously a massive blow to our Use Your Fantasy teams as well. And selling Harry Kane to Erling Haaland is something else on the agenda. Harry Kane scored a brace and got an assist this weekend, and Haaland also scored a brace in the Manchester derby. They're two of the best goal scorers in Europe. And to be honest, apart from Mbappe, I don't think anybody comes close in terms of their rate of goal scoring. You could argue Garassi and one or two other players, but I think these two and Mbappe are the clear standouts for the European Golden Boot and also for this competition in the Champions League. But I would favour Erling Haaland ever so slightly facing Napoli at home. But to be honest with you, Harry Kane facing Chelsea is still right up there in the captaincy, as you saw in my recent drafts. But with all of that in mind, this will be my first team selection for UCL Fantasy. It is subject to change, and check out my deadline stream tomorrow. In goal, I'm going for Trubin, who plays on Tuesday, the 16th of September, and make sure that both your goalkeepers are playing on different days. It's quite tough to find a balance of those that don't clash up until match day 7 or 8, but that's all covered in my updated draft video, so make sure to check that out. And one goalkeeper combination that could work very well for you is Vicario and Joan Garcia, which I'll show you very soon. Benfica aren't the best of teams defensively, but for match day 1 facing Karabag, they've got a great chance on paper, and he also costs 4.5 million, which is very useful when you're spending this money in the outfield positions. Hakimi, Otamendi, Howson and Romero forms part of a decent defensive line, and I think Hakimi has such a high ceiling, as we saw last season, where he scored 125 UCL Fantasy points, and Dean Howson could be quite underrated when it comes to ball recoveries. While Marseille won 4-0 this weekend, Real Madrid got another solid 2-0 victory, and they sit top of La Liga after a very shaky Club World Cup campaign under Xabi Alonso. I think he's now implementing his ideas and getting the best out of most of his players. And I also think Otamendi is a very good ball recoverer in UCL Fantasy. Over the years, he's always producing a lot of points, and he can score the occasional goal. We saw it in Club World Cup Fantasy over the summer as well. And Christian Romero was incredible for ball recoveries a few years ago with Atalanta. I think he could be the best Spurs defender at 5 million, but the most exciting will be Pedro Porro at the exact same price tag, but he won't get as many ball recoveries as Christian Romero, and they're facing a Villarreal side who lost 2-0, whilst Tottenham Hotspur got a very impressive 3-0 win away from home against West Ham in that London derby. Going into my midfield, I've currently got Elise, Kalanoglu, Vinicius Jr. and Simmons, and all of them got a goal contribution over the weekend except for Vinicius Jr., but he has been very impressive in the beginning stages of this season, and Kalanoglu scored a brace in that 4-3 defeat against Juventus. And while Inter Milan won't be the favourites to win Serie A, as they have done over the last couple of years, I still think they'll be right up there in the Serie A table and compete for the Champions League, but I think they look much weaker compared to at this stage last season. But I like the balance of this midfield. You've got a nice range of options at different price points. So Kalanoglu costs 7 million. He's the main penalty taker for Inter Milan. And Xavi Simons got an assist on his debut against West Ham from a corner, and he costs 6.5 million. Tottenham Hotspur ranks second in my FDR. You can see the full list of how every single team is ranked in terms of the quality of their fixtures up until matchday 8 in my chip strategy guide. Napoli are ranked top despite facing Manchester City away from home, and Real Madrid will be also ranked very highly. They face Marseille at home and Kara Almaty away in the first 2 match days. So Vinicius Jr. is a great pick for the first few game weeks, and he's fixture proof ultimately. His record in the Champions League is very impressive, and Michael Olise has been incredible for Bayern Munich since joining them last season. Pavlidis and Mbappe up front looks very solid, especially for match day 1, and Mbappe will be a long-term option. Now, Pavlidis has had a poor start to the season, but he scored over the weekend in a 1-1 draw against Santa Clara at home, but Pavlidis will be the main threat in that Benfica attack. You might want to consider Sudakov in the midfield. He didn't start that game, but is a new signing for Benfica, and at 5 million, a lot of Benfica fans think he'll start against Karabag, and that could be another punt for you in the midfield. And Kylian Mbappe has been scoring and assisting in virtually every single game. I think he has blanked once so far this season, and he got another goal this weekend alongside Arda Güler, so you can't go wrong with Mbappe, who is one of my favourite captaincy options for the first 2 match days. And the same goes for some of my players on the bench, which includes Erling Haaland and Pedro Gonçalves, and in the case of the midfielder, he got 1 goal and 1 assist in a 2-1 victory for Sporting this weekend. And I've got Virginia as my backup goalkeeper at this moment in time, and that's because Rhys Silva, the main Sporting goalkeeper, is currently an injury doubt. If that remains the case and he's officially ruled out for match day 1, I can take a punt on Virginia, who only costs 4 million in goal, and I know Merritt will be the best long-term goalkeeper on paper, but he was benched over the weekend as Napoli won 3-1 away from home versus Fiorentina, so that would be quite concerning in the long term. So it might be worth going for a more expensive goalkeeper like David Raya. And for the first 4 match days, I think Jan Sommer has the best fixtures. And we can't forget the likes of Alisson, Vicario. They're all solid options. And whilst Alisson is quite injury prone for a goalkeeper, I think in UCL Fantasy, he typically is quite reliable between the sticks. And Vicario is the highest scoring goalkeeper in FPL so far this season. And Tottenham Hotspur are ranked so highly in the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, so it might be worth a punt there as well. And I think he'll be a send-forget option throughout the league phase. So you've got a lot of choices between the sticks, but I'm currently going for this goalkeeper pair of Trubin and Virginia just for match day 1, and that could change if Rhys Silva is then, classed as available for the next game, and then I could downgrade somebody else like Kalanoglu to Francisco Trincao and then triple up on Sporting that way. But they've also got some promising defenders like Quenda, who is playing out of position and he only costs 5 million. He's covering for an injured player at the moment. And Gadomo, who has been talked about a lot in my comments section, he costs 5.5 million, but he's injured and he's not scoring or assisting over the last 10 to 20 games, really. It's not that promising. I know the ceiling is certainly there due to his position, but I think right now, if you want that matchday 1 punt who has, playing out of position, he's got a great fixture and all of that, then I think Quenda would be the one from Sporting. His minutes long term, though, won't be secure. And I've also got Grimaldo on my bench. He scored a brace against Frankfurt in a 3-1 victory for Bayer Leverkusen, and they were down to 9 men, so that was a very impressive victory. And I've also got the likes of Gonçalves, who, like I said, did very well with a goal and an assist, and his ceiling is the highest of any Sporting player, which is why I rank him so highly for the captaincy, and Erling Haaland will be ranked even higher in terms of my final list. Speaking of which, Mbappe will be my first choice for the captaincy on the Tuesday. And remember, you can change it between every single day. And in UCL Fantasy for matchday 1 anyway, we've got 3 shots at the captaincy because we have Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday games. So you can captain 1 player from each day. And once you change it, your original captain's points, the double points anyway, will be lost, but you don't have to sub them out of your team. And speaking of which, you can also do that. Make substitutions and take off your lowest scoring players for those yet to play later in the match day. So if Mbappe disappoints, I'll likely go to Hakimi or Elise with this 50-man setup because they play on Wednesday, the 17th of September, and afterwards I can go to Erling Haaland if needed, but even Pedro Gonçalves would be a great shout as a massive differential at this moment in time, and his ownership is currently 1%, I think, and Virginia in goal is 0%. So I think Sporting have plenty of options that are very enticing for matchday 1. If you are wildcarding or using the limitless in matchday 2, which is what I'm likely going to do at this moment in time, I think this sort of setup will be perfect. And of course, you might have a few gripes with it long term, but that's the point. You can then wildcard in matchday 3, limitless in matchday 2, or kind of use the chips in a different sequence, which I talk about in my chip strategy guide. So that's how things look like at the moment. But let me talk about the goal scorer odds, clean sheet probabilities, and much more. That includes the top 10 captains for matchday 1. And towards the end of this podcast, I'll show you alternative picks in every single position. Let's begin this section with the defensive side of things, looking at the clean sheet odds for matchday 1 specifically. Sporting remain top with a 60% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Kara Almaty at home, and the entire top 6 of this list all have home matches. These stats are taken by the website fantasyfootballpundit.com, which I'll be referring to in many podcasts this season. Benfica are second, and they're only just behind Sporting in terms of the percentages, and there's a clear difference between them and third place PSG, who face Atalanta at home. Olympiacos are fourth, facing Paphos, who are making their first ever Champions League appearance, just like Kara Almaty, who are bottom of this list with a 6% chance of keeping a clean sheet. In 5th and 6th, we've got Real Madrid and Man City, and as I showed you in previous drafts, I've also talked about those up until the top 12 basically. So you've got Tottenham and Arsenal in 7th and 8th, Bayern Munich and Inter Milan complete the top 10, and Liverpool and PSV are in the top 12 as well. With the goal scorer odds, Kylian Mbappe is leading the way by some distance, and Luis Suarez scored this weekend and also got 4 goals for Colombia over the international break. You've got Pavlidis in third, who is currently in my setup. Harry Kane and Haaland are in the top 5, so actually Kane is ranked a little bit higher than Erling Haaland for matchday 1 only, but that's because Napoli have been brilliant over the last year or so. Under Antonio Conte, there's Francisco Trincao, so he is ranked higher than Pedro Gonçalves, but to be honest with you, if both players are fully at it, I think Gonçalves is the better player, but a lot of Sporting fans will tell you that over the last couple of months, Trincao has been more consistent. There is also a few other options in here, like Jonathan David, Victor Osimhen, Gonzalo Ramos, Mauro Icardi, and a few others here and there that you can see on screen. El Gabi from Olympiacos could be one to monitor, but Taremi will start games there for the Greek outfit, and he scored this weekend in a 5-0 win for Olympiacos. Lautaro Martinez is also in this list, but Thuram has also been scoring a lot of goals for Inter Milan, and he does save you 1.5 million in the process. Victor Gyökeres is facing an Athletic Bilbao side who just lost 1-0 at home. I think it was due to an own goal against Alaves, and Gyökeres scored his first ever Arsenal goal in a friendly against Athletic Bilbao a couple of months ago. Kvaratskhelia could be ignored because, like I said, he was subbed off due to injury, and I doubt he's going to start against Atalanta, but if anything changes on that front, I'll keep you updated. And Lamine Yamal will likely not feature as well against Newcastle away, and it's surprising not to see the likes of Lewandowski or Rafinha, but I think Newcastle away is a tough fixture, which some FDRs don't reflect. Now, the top 10 captaincy options, this is my final list arguably, but just wait and see until the deadline stream tomorrow, of course. I've got Victor Gyökeres in 10th, Rafinha 9th, Hakimi, Salah and Kane are just outside the top 5, which includes Pavlidis, Pedro Gonçalves, Vinicius Jr., Haaland, and in top spot is Kylian Mbappe. That hasn't changed from our recent podcasts, and you could definitely argue that Trincao and a few other differentials and maybe low-key assets should be in this top 10 list. Let me know down in the comment section below which players you would include in the top 10 captaincy options. And remember, you can change it between every single day, but between match days 2 to 7, we're only going to get 2 shots at the captaincy. And for match day 8, everybody plays at the same time, so you can't make substitutions or change the captaincy, which is the same case for the Champions League final in match day 17. There are so many options in every single position. That's the beauty of UCL Fantasy, especially towards the beginning of the season, and that will include the likes of Vicario and Juan Garcia, which can be used as a goalkeeper pairing in the long term, and they won't clash until match day 5, I believe. But if you limitless in such a match day, that could negate that sort of clash, and you could have 6 match days where they play on different days and you can make substitutions, and that is the best way to approach the goalkeeper pairings. Watch my updated draft video and you will see the full list of goalkeeper pairings up until match day 8, and a few of them will last for the first 6 game weeks up until match day 7. There's also Dumfries, Bacho, Gabriel, Quenda, who I mentioned earlier, and Van Dijk, who will be great for ball recoveries. He always is solid in that regard in UCL Fantasy. And Gabriel as well is probably the best Arsenal defender when it comes to ball recoveries, and he can score a few goals from time to time. He hasn't done so far this season, but I think it will come eventually, especially with Arsenal's constant set piece threat. And Denzel Dumfries has been brilliant for club and country with the goals and the assists, but ultimately with Juventus scoring 4 past Inter Milan over the weekend and Dumfries not getting any goal contributions, that'll put a lot of people off from Dumfries for the opening match day, but I still like him a lot between match days 2 to 4. And Bacho is the best ball recoverer in this team, and another Ecuadorian you can consider is Caicedo in the midfield. There is a new system in FPL called defensive contributions, which kind of takes after ball recoveries from UCL Fantasy, and Caicedo is scoring DEFCON points, defensive contributions, in every single match except for a 5-1 win over West Ham, and he still scored in that game. So Caicedo should be considered at 6 million as well. And speaking of which, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who scored a penalty for Napoli, and he has been scoring and assisting so regularly for the Italian side. Serge Gnabry is also getting regular starts, but his minutes are a bit insecure. Sometimes he'll come off the bench or only play 45 minutes, as he did this weekend with Jackson coming on. So with Gnabry, that would just be a bit of a punt at 6.5 million, but he is starting games more regularly now than he was last season. And Francisco Trincao could be considered over Pedro Gonçalves, and I might even go for both of them in the end, especially if Reece Silva is going to start for Sporting and I need 1 extra million to kind of go away from Virginia, because ultimately I don't want a backup goalkeeper who doesn't even play, because with UCL Fantasy you can make substitutions and really bolster your chances of scoring points. I've also got Rafinha in here, who scored a brace off the bench against Valencia, and he was arguably the best player in the Champions League last season, and I think people forget about him because Yamal has been so good in this upcoming campaign. You know, he was scoring and assisting in every single game until that injury. So I understand why Rafinha was forgotten about a little bit, but he should still be one of the top options in the midfield at 9.5 million. And Mohamed Salah hasn't been great, but he is still getting goals in virtually every match right now. And he got a late assist against Newcastle, which proved to be the winner for Liverpool. He scored a late penalty in the 95th minute on Sunday against Burnley, and against Bournemouth to seal the win, he got a goal in added time as well. But ultimately with Liverpool, they need to start controlling games a little bit more because they certainly have more levels to reach. And Salah, the same applies to him, of course. He is probably a shadow of what he did at this stage last season. And when it comes to forwards, Luis Suarez is the standout, especially at 5 million. If you are looking for a budget forward, don't overcomplicate it. He has the best fixture that you can ask for. He's a massive differential and the price tag is perfect when it comes to enabling for those premiums in the midfield and forward line. And there are plenty of mid-priced options in this position, not just Pavlidis, but also Taremi facing Paphos at home. And longer term, you'd want to go for Joao Pedro at 7.5 million, especially between match days 2 to 4, where Chelsea's fixtures are more promising. And Guirassy at 8 million is a great option. He was one of the top goal scorers in UCL Fantasy last season, and he's going to be a contender for the Golden Boot. Thuram at the same price tag is a great option for the first 4 match days, and Lautaro Martinez at 9.5 is another solid option. Victor Gyökeres at 9 is scoring goals on a consistent basis for Arsenal, 3 goals in 4 Premier League games. He just needs to improve a little bit with his overall play and understanding his teammates, but I think he's done very well so far this season. And Harry Kane, you just can't forget about him. I know Chelsea home looks really poor on paper, but Bayern Munich are still the better team. They would be the favourites to win that match, and Chelsea can still be vulnerable defensively, especially away from home, where they haven't kept a clean sheet so far this season. And Bayern Munich at the Allianz are one of the fiercest teams in Europe. In terms of other options as well on top of it, which I haven't mentioned, or maybe not in this section, I think Vitinha would be one of them. And let's not forget about a 6 million starting midfielder for Real Madrid in Arda Güler, who scored this weekend, and that's 9 consecutive starts on the Xabi Alonso. So last season, he just wasn't really a consideration because he didn't get the minutes on the Carlo Ancelotti, but that is a different story this time round, and you've got so many options here that I'll ultimately talk about in my deadline stream tomorrow, and I have discussed many throughout all of my content in UCL Fantasy this season. Let me know down in the comment section below if you feel there are other options that should be considered, like Schlotterbeck for ball recoveries. I mean, ultimately, everyone can become a great UCL Fantasy pick at some stage this season. That's the beauty of this game, with the ball recoveries and different ways of scoring points. But now it's time for the deadline stream tomorrow, where I'll answer all your questions, provide the final graphics like the top 10 captaincy list, and also give you more updates in terms of injuries and team news. If you want to play UCL Fantasy this season, the best ways to do so are going to the App Store and typing UEFA Gaming Hub, and ultimately if you type in UCL Fantasy, it should pop up as the first result in the search. And you can also type it in on your browser, and from there you can download the app or use the website. So there are different ways of playing UCL Fantasy. If you had an account last season, by using the same details, and if you were in my mini league, you'll automatically be enrolled once more into the FPL Dylan mini league. And there is a link in the description. The code is SEINOF. You'll see it in plenty of my videos this season, in the graphics and also in the description of every single UCL Fantasy video and live stream. That includes tomorrow for the first deadline stream of the Champions League this season, and it will be a blast answering hundreds, maybe thousands of your questions at this point, and making sure you're well prepared, not just for match day 1, but also for the rest of the tournament. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it insightful, then like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date with my content for both UCL Fantasy and FPL. Our aim is to get this to over 400 likes and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 36k on YouTube. Follow me on X, Instagram and Blue Sky, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description for my Patreon and the championships, further access to my videos, amongst many other perks. My Discord server, the UCL Fantasy League, and Spotify can also be found in the description. I'll see you tomorrow for the first UCL Fantasy deadline stream of the new season, and keep your eyes peeled for even more content.